All right. So the last part, the last part of chapter 1 is talking about economic systems. Economic systems. And we're going to talk about 3 main economic systems, and then we're going to kind of talk about some commonalities to all the economic systems and specifically some commonalities of modern economic systems as well towards the end of class before we get to our Kahoot. But right now we're going to talk about the 3 ways that societies have historically organized an economy. These are not the 3 only ways, but these are the 3 ways that we have seen. And so the first way is, tale as old as time, right? This is the traditional economy. Traditional economy is typically an agricultural economy. And the main thing about a traditional economy is that things are done the same as they always have been done. Your dad was a sheep herder, you're a sheep herder. You know, your dad was a pig farmer, you're a pig farmer. That simple. So this is the oldest economic system that we have. Still used today in parts of Asia, Africa, South America. The occupations tend to stay in the family. These are very much you only get to eat what you kill, right? You get what you produce is what you consume. And the problem with traditional economies is there is little to no economic progression, or development. So if you keep doing things the same way they've always been done, things ain't going to get better. The second system that we've seen is what we're going to call the command economy. A command economy is where all of the decisions are made and passed down by a government authority and the other part of this is that the government owns all the resources. All your base are mine. The government decides what goods and services will be produced. So the question of what produced and how to produce it is dictated by the government. G&S, goods and services. What goods and services will be produced and the prices of those goods and services. The government is going to decide what methods of production how many robots to use, how many people to use, and the wages for those workers. The one silver lining to a command economy is that there is a widespread provisioning of many necessities. So the government provides many necessities like healthcare, and education for free. Some examples of command economy would be ancient Egypt, right? How else did they build those pyramids? Nobody signed up to be a worker there. Medieval manor life, right? You know, the peasants working on manors, you know, the nobles owning the land that the king gives them and the peasants working it, right? That whole thing we learned about in middle school. Currently, there are a couple of communist countries that exhibit command economies, right? Cuba and North Korea are the two main ones. And there are varying degrees of command economies. We're going to talk about how all modern economies kind of sit on a continuum between the next type of organization system and command economies. So, you know, we like to think of ourselves as, you know, totally free here in the United States, but there are some elements of our economic organization that are more similar to command economy tenets than the next kind of tenets, which are the market economy. So all modern economies are a mixture of this command economy and the next type of economy. The next type of economy is called a market economy. And again, this is the most similar to ours, but like I said, there are some parts of our economy that are more related to the tenets of command than market. But a market economy is one where, and this is important, economic decisions are decentralized. Private individuals own resources, and businesses supply goods and services based on demand, not based on some government edict passed to you from on high. When we're talking about market economies, we're talking about markets. What are markets, right? Well, markets used to be these very clear things to identify. It was the place where buyers and sellers came together to purchase things and sell things, right? Now markets are all around us, right? Walmart's a market, Amazon's a market, the whole dang internet's a market, right? Markets are much more amorphous these days, much more ephemeral than they used to be. When we talk about a market economy, we're talking about a system of what's called private enterprise. Private enterprise. What do we mean when we say private enterprise? This is a system where private individuals or groups of private individuals own and operate the means of production. What do we mean by means of production? We're talking about the factory, the desks, the assembly line, the robots, all of that. They own and operate them according to their own whims and desires. And so, like I stated before, most economies in the real world are mixed. They have elements of the command and the market system. The US is obviously positioned more toward the market end of the spectrum. So we could put, the US over here. We would put, places like Russia and China more over here. and we'd put, you know, Europe and Latin America somewhere around here. While they're primarily market-oriented, they still have a lot of government involvement in economic decisions as compared to the United States, which takes a bit more of a hands-off approach. So it's important for us to remember there is no such thing as an absolutely free market, right? We always have some sort of regulations. And so in economics, we're going to be talking a lot about regulations, and we're going to talk kind of interchangeably about regulations and institutions. Regulations and institutions collectively make up the rules of the game in an economy. Ones that are primarily market-oriented have fewer regulations. Ideally, they have just enough regulations to maintain an even playing field for all the participants. Now, what happens when we have a heavily regulated economy?
So it's an economy where it's less determined by individuals and more determined by a bureaucratic system, centralized.
Correct. But what emerges from a heavily regulated economy?
A lot of economic inefficiency, a lot of rules and regulations.
And usually underground economies. So heavily regulated economies often have black markets or underground economies. And these are markets where economic transactions happen, right? Buyers and sellers make transactions, but they do so without the government's approval or knowledge, and without giving a little bit of their money to Uncle Scam, right? No taxes being paid if they're using the black market. So sometimes if a black market is persistent and doesn't go away, what does the government decide to do? They decide to deregulate. They might bring that black market into the light, right? Which, you know, some states have done here in the United States with marijuana, right? So bringing these underground economies, black markets, into the light and then taxing them and regulating them. All right, questions on markets? All right, let's pop over and do our Kahoot.